Let me just say this. If you don't like Nigel Farage, you know, this fella, if you recognize him. If you don't like that guy, you're crazy. Let me just say that. You're freaking crazy, man. This is the guy I love when he stands up and gives them hell in Parliament or whatever. And these Eurozone people, that, you know, these unelected officials, they can't stand when this guy comes up and speaks because he knows he's going to tell everybody everything that these people are doing wrong. You unelected officials, you this, you that. Oh, I love this guy. He is a very big Donald Trump supporter, by the way. Zero hedge. Nigel Farage blasts the EU, Mr. Juncker, over Catalonia. Spain violates Article 2 of Lisbon Treaty. Right? So he lets them have it. And I love it because now a whole bunch more people are going to see this. Shooting comes out. This is old news. Nigel Farage back on the scene. Never mind. It's back in your face again. Authored by Mike Shedlock via mishtalk.com. Nigel Farage made his best speech ever. And he's made some phenomenal speeches. In the European Parliament, Farage called the Catalonia crackdown a foretaste of EU political suppression. Watch and enjoy, which he puts a link up. Here's the full transcript, and I'd like to read it because this is great. Aside from the really important issue of Brexit, I think European citizens... Hang on. All right, let me start over on that one because heard a little rat-a-tat-tat on the door. Little Emily was coming up here. What's up? Brought me some food. Dinner, Rainer? Yes. That's worthy of pausing, for sure. Awesome. So let's start over with this transcript. Again, you've got to love Nigel. Just love this guy. Aside from the really important issue of Brexit, I think European citizens, those that do take any interest in what happens here, will be stunned that Mr. Juncker comes here for his one appearance in the Strasbourg session this week, and there is absolutely no mention made of the dramatic events that have taken place inside a European Union member state that is allegedly a modern democracy. Oh God, he's about to let these people have it. Oh, love this guy. One of the reasons that I always wanted Brexit was because I thought the system of lawmaking whereby the Commission has the sole right to initiate legislation was something that would in fact damage and in the end destroy any concept of national democracy. And yeah, I've called the European Union undemocratic. I've called it anti-democratic. But never, ever in my fiercest criticisms here did I think we would see the police of a member state of the Union injuring 900 people in an attempt to stop them from going out to vote. Whether or not it was legal nationally for the people of Catalonia to have a vote, surely people are allowed to express an opinion. We saw women being dragged out of polling stations by the hair. Old ladies with gashes on their forehead. The most extraordinary display. And what do we get from Mr. Juncker today? Not a dicky bird. Now, that saying reminds me of, you can't even shake a stick at it, much less lick it. Not a dicky bird. I like that. In fact, previously, we had that the rule of law must be maintained, and I think it is quite extraordinary to realize that this union is prepared to turn a blind eye. Can you imagine the British police would have roughed up a couple of Scottish National Party protesters, or if something happened against a pro-Remain rally, you'd all be screaming blue murder. Indeed, the call would be that the United Kingdom must go before the European Court of Human Rights, and yet with this, you don't even want to talk about it. Knowing as I do, your advanced plans, 7 of you member states here, with your military police, your Euro Grandemir force, all I can say, once again, is thank God we're leaving. In other words, thank God they voted for Brexit. Brexit was an act of liberation. It was a voice of national self-determination that cannot and will not be stopped. But through this negotiating process, I'm afraid, from the start, you've treated us as if we're some kind of hostage. Unless we pay a ransom, unless we meet all of your demands, then you won't even have an intelligent conversation with us about trade heading on from here. There are no guarantees that whatever Miss May says or does, that you will ever, even when we've met your demands, that you will ever come to us and want to have a sensible trade agreement. And I have to say that it is sad. In fact, it was pitiful to see the British Prime Minister in Florence. I heard you say you thought she was being conciliatory, that she's been grown up. People are happy with what she said. Actually, Miss May, I'm sad to say, isn't worldly enough to recognize that when you face up to a bully, the one thing you do not do is try to appease them. She's begging you to give her a transition period, and there's no guarantee that you will do it. So I do actually agree with the criticisms that I've heard around the room about the mixed messages coming out from the UK government. I just hope that in Manchester, the Conservative Party starts to say in public what they're all saying to me in private, that she's a waste of space, she needs to go, that we need a proper Prime Minister who says to Monsieur Barnier, okay, here's a deadline. Here's a date. We work towards that date. And if we can't reach a sensible deal on trade and everything else, then we are simply leaving and reverting to WTO rules, World Trade Organization rules. This charade cannot go on year after year. After all, we voted for Brexit. And then Zerohead says, here's an interesting comment to the YouTube post by Fabian. If anything, Nigel went easy on them. And to all the people who think they're being smart, saying he called for less EU in domestic politics, this isn't politics, it's human rights. And by Article 7 of the Lisbon Treaty, Spain should be suspended from the EU for breaching Article 2 and dispatching a branch of the military against an unarmed civilian population. Here's the Lisbon Treaty articles in play. Article 2. The Union is founded on the values of respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and respect for human rights, including the rights of persons belonging to minorities. These values are common to the member states in a society in which pluralism, non-discrimination, tolerance, justice, solidarity, and equality between women and men prevail. So now Article 7. There's 5 points in here. 1. On a reasoned proposal by 1/3 of the member states, by the European Parliament, or by the European Commission, the Council, acting by a majority of 4/5 of its members, after obtaining the consent of the European Parliament, may determine that there is a clear risk of a serious breach by a member state of the values referred to in Article 2. Before making such a determination, the Council shall hear the member state in question and may address recommendations to it, acting in accordance with the same procedure. The Council shall regularly verify that the grounds on which such a determination was made continue to apply. Number 2, the European Council, acting by unanimity on a proposal by 1/3 of the member states or by the European Commission, and after obtaining the consent of the European Parliament, may determine the existence of a serious and persistent breach by a member state of the values referred in Article 2, after inviting the member state in question to submit its observations. Number 3, where a determination under paragraph 2 has been made, the Council, acting by a qualified majority, may decide to suspend certain of the rights deriving from the application of the treaties to the member state in question, including the voting rights of the representative of the government of that member state in the Council. In doing so, the Council shall take into account the possible consequences of such a suspension on the rights and obligations of natural and legal persons, the obligations of the member state, in question under the treaty shall in any case continue to be binding on that state. Number 4, the council acting by a qualified majority may decide subsequently to vary or revoke measures taken under paragraph 3 in the response or in response to changes in the situation which led to their being imposed. Number 5, and finally, the voting arrangements applying to the European Parliament, the European Council, and Council for the purposes of this article are laid down in Article 345 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. End of that. Thanks to Nigel Farage for once again exposing the EU's blatant hypocrisy. Thanks to Fabian for the Lisbon Treaty comments. So they violate the law, and the so-called members, this parliament, all the member states, nobody stands up. Not one person stands up, not even the head, Mr. Juncker, Jean-Claude Juncker, and even mentions anything about what just happened in Spain. Not so much that they wanted a referendum for, to secede or whatever, to, go their own way. You can go your own way, go your own way. You can call it brutality on a rainy day, on a rainy day. Seriously. That should have been brought up. That was an incorrect response. We need the representative from Spain to stand up and tell us what the hell happened, right? Not a peep. And not even a peep from anybody else. Except Nigel Farage. I freaking love this guy. Again, this is probably I may have to agree, this is probably his best speech he's ever given. And this guy has blasted these people like you've never seen in your life. And I just love to hear this man crush these cockroaches in his speeches. And he just laid it out again. So again, they're in violation of what is it, Article 2 and Article 7, essentially. No one even talked about it. So let's just see where this goes. Let's see if anything happens to Spain. Let's see how great this EU rule of law democracy works. Nothing's going to happen. Mark my words. Take care.